Greetings, fellow beings.
Alright guys, today we're going to take a look at some stories where the claims are of a concept which hasn't only been an idea of science fiction throughout the ages, but is actually gaining a lot of possible credibility amongst theoretical physicists in our modern times thanks to the discovery of quantum mechanics in the early 1900s. With the concept of string theory being the only current workable concept or model to explain what is possibly beyond subatomic particles, the math concludes that beyond the 4 dimensions which we observe, there are actually 11 dimensions, which is nearly triple the amount we're actually familiar with. So what lies within these 7 dimensions? What and where are they? Could they hold alternate versions of our own world? Perhaps they're just backup data or the past and future existing outside of the present. The list of ideas can go on, but perhaps there are occasions when the data glitches and we accidentally catch a glimpse beyond our senses and beyond the 4 observable dimensions.
Number 8.
Santa Maria, California, August 2nd, 2011. Okay, so my friend Jorge and I were going to visit my grandma's for the weekend. She lives up in the mountains with no neighbors, no roads, and no facilities located anywhere close by. We were sitting in her greenhouse late at night when I thought I noticed a shooting star outside the windowing roof. After focusing for a bit longer, I realized what I thought was a shooting star is now still. So I dismissed it and went back to hanging out. Only after another hour or so I saw the star slowly drifting like a plane, so again I didn't pay much attention. What caught my eye on this very clear night was the sudden downward movement of the light. Paying attention to it now, the drifting progressively turned itself into quick movements, quick enough that the light trailed behind itself, moving so fast a small cross sign was in the sky. Just as soon as my amazement took over and I started to question what it could be, it dramatically stopped, then began to quickly brighten, making no noise. Mind you, we were on the top of a canyon, so a small plane would have no business flying literally 50 feet next to the small house we were in. Only then, when it passes the greenhouse, I could relate it to a plane in terms of noise, but the surface was pitch black, and I saw a brightened cockpit, but right after it passed, no noise, lights, or anything. So we sat there and explained to each other what we had just saw in awe. I thought maybe we were being kind of loud because we were slightly worried and we didn't know what happened, and I thought my grandmother was coming to check up on us, which was kind of odd for her. The light I saw wasn't on the small dirt road, but was approaching up an almost vertical incline horizontal to it. What I then saw made me question my existence as an individual, because I saw an outline of a person made of light. Imagine a normal weighted man, but this outline was a culmination of colors, and I could see through the center of it. That, and when it walked, it left almost copies or like slinky, stretching, fading images of the previous stance it was in when it walked, only for it to continue across the path up another sheer face of 20 feet and disappear into one giant flash. I checked the ground on footprints or any sign of evidence or that something was there, especially where the light brightened and the event ended. I went and checked to find a few bushes, nothing more. As this went on, I felt privileged to see this. And on a side note, my grandmother is the only other person to have seen anything strange before out there.
Number 7.
Okay, so this happened a couple weeks ago to my brother and I. We go to our dad's every other week. It involves taking a bus from our house to the local train station, then a train to the main city, before taking another train to the city he lives in. When we go, we take stuff we'll need: headset, webcam, laptop, etc. My brother is very forgetful, so we were in a rush. We get on the bus to head up to the bus station, and he realizes he left his laptop. He gets off and runs down to get it. I continue to the station to wait for him while he gets back. Now there are 3 trains to make it to the city our dad lives in. When I had arrived, the first train is leaving. Since my brother is not here, I wait for him. I ask him what's going on, etc. An old lady found his laptop and a stranger gave him money for the bus. Luckily, he arrives just before the next train arrives. Now, on the train, we set down our phones and discuss the matter of transport. Then I get a message. Lewis, my brother, current time. When's the next train? I think I missed you. I thought this was a joke from him, so I give him a look of, seriously? You think you can trick me with that? He looks confused, so I showed him the message and his face just drops. He told me he never said anything like that, since his phone was on the table of the train and he couldn't have done it without me seeing. Just to make sure, I read the message from me to him. I assumed it was just an old message that had just now sent. However, there was nothing. He didn't have anything to hide anyway. I send a response, but it only goes to his phone, which was disappointing. I theorized that it was an alternate reality where he missed the train and I got on.
Number 6.
There are 2 stories here and both are similar. My first incident was about 4 years ago. I get a call from my mom crying, asking where I was, and I told her, I'm at work, why? She sounded very confused and crying, saying, What kind of a joke is this? It's not funny. She then proceeds to tell me that 10 minutes earlier I had called with my number on the caller ID, and I was telling her that I was drunk, in a hotel room a few miles from her, and that I had lost my job for stealing something from work. She had asked where my wife was, and I had told her that the kids and her were there with me. She had then put my sister on the phone, and my sister said it didn't sound exactly like me. My sister started asking me questions like where is her birthmark and other things that not a lot of people know. I had answered them all correctly, apparently. They had jumped in the car and drove to the hotel, and of course I wasn't there. I then told my mom that everything was fine, because I was at work, not drunk, and the wife and kids were fine. The second incident was about 3 years ago, 1 year after the first incident. I was at work and I get a call from my wife. She said, Where the heck are you? I'm at the house, ready to go. I am at work. Why are you not at work? And where are we going? I said. Then she proceeds to tell me that about 30 minutes earlier she received a call, but no number showed up on her cell, and it was definitely me, saying that my father had been into a bad accident and I was leaving work and going straight home, packing a bag and going to drive up to his house, about 2 hours away. She swears it was definitely me. I checked her cell phone and it didn't show the call, and when I checked cell phone records, there was no call during that time of the day. My wife is not a practical joker and has no reason to make this up at all. I don't have a lot of friends, and I don't believe any of them would do something like this, and none of them even sound like me.
Number 5.
This story may not be as exciting as some of the others I've read on this sub, but this moment shaped my entire life in every aspect of my personality. When I was younger, around 11 or 12, I was swimming with my brothers and our friends at the lake. One of the friends who was with us came from a wealthy family and had brought a floating trampoline for us all to play on while we were swimming. The trampoline was tethered to the bottom of the lake with an anchor. A lot of the kids who had played with the trampoline before liked to swim under it where there was a net that they would pretend it was a table for an underwater club. My father was watching us swim, but went back to the camper as my stepmom had called him for something. Then I decided I wanted to go to the underwater club. When I swam down, someone had just jumped off the trampoline, causing the rope tied to the anchor to have some slack. The rope had somehow wrapped itself around my leg when the trampoline floated back up, holding me underwater. I was panicking pretty bad and just thrashing underwater trying to get free. My mind was racing. I didn't know what to do and I didn't want to die. I finally got to the point where I couldn't hold my breath anymore. I tried to breathe in desperation but was only met with water. Then I felt myself die. It was the most calming, relaxing thing I have ever felt. I just knew everything was going to be okay and I didn't have to worry anymore. It was very disturbing how good it felt. But then, it was like time reversed to the point just before I breathed underwater. Experiencing my death had left me oddly calm. I was able to stop panicking and muster up all the strength to hold my breath and pull the rope slack on my leg to get myself free. I still breathed in water on the way up, but was able to get to the shore where I coughed it back up. The following days defined the rest of my life so far. I decided that day that I would treat everyone and everything with the utmost respect. I respect all life now, even the most minuscule of bugs or annoying of pests. I treat everyone I meet as kindly as possible and help anyone I can. I'm not sure exactly what happened that day, but I'm glad it did. I love my life and I love who I am, and oddly enough, I still love to swim.
Number 4.
The publisher of this post writes, I know it's strange, but sometimes I feel like the events in which I'm present leads to my death, and then time splits in two different realities, the one in which I'm fucked up, and the other where nothing bad happens, which is the one I continue to live. Did you ever feel your path being split in that way? Then a commenter on this post writes, I actually have a story for this one. I think I posted it before, but I'm not sure. Forgive me for any sort of crap formatting as I'm on a mobile. So a number of years ago, I'm driving in the rain after visiting my ex-fiancée. It's dark and just absolutely storming, so I'm driving back and I go to take a turn. There's another car coming at me at high speeds, and I had misjudged the distance and speed of this car. When I noticed it, it was too late. I slammed on the brakes, closed my eyes, and the only thing that went through my head was, this is it, and I saw myself die. I saw myself die that night, and I heard the crash. I felt the loss. But when I opened my eyes, I was fine. I saw the car pass me. I even saw the woman's face in the other car glare at me angrily. For a number of years after that, I would have these sudden and shocking sensations where certain things would happen that would bring the same feeling of loss and my own death. It's like I had become sensitive to my own timelines and could feel when one ended. I know it sounds outlandish and completely ludicrous to assume that I could feel such a thing, but it's what I felt. It was probably just anxiety of the memory that I thought I was dead. But was it just anxiety? I don't know. I believe in the whole quantum immortality thing to a point, but more importantly, I believe in the infinite multiverse theory. So maybe I did see myself die in another life had I not slammed on my brakes like I did. But I'm still here, so I've got that going for me, which is pretty nice.
Number 3.
So I matched with a girl on Tinder. We'll call her Emma. Got talking for a few days and eventually arranged to meet at a local bar. She sent me a Facebook message in the morning before she went to work explaining that she has run out of mobile data and will not be able to send me a message unless she has a Wi-Fi connection. So we agreed up to meet at 8:30 p.m. outside of the bar entrance. Now, the bar we agreed to meet at is very old. It's a well-known and popular bar in my city. It's basically a landmark, so there's absolutely no way we got the bars mistaken. Even then, an event occurred at the location that is so specific that there's absolutely no way we weren't at different places, but apparently we were somehow. So I get there at 8:25 and wait. There's only a doorman there, and 3 older women having a smoke. It gets to be 8:30, and there's no sign of her. It gets to be 8:40, and again no sign of her. I start to think that she's just running late. I go inside to use the bathroom and also use this as an opportunity to scope out the bar and see if she has decided to go inside for some reason. The bar is pretty busy, but far from packed. It's a Wednesday night after all. I don't see her anywhere. I return outside and wait again, and I was gone for no more than 5 minutes. It gets to be about 8:50, at this point, and I'm starting to think that I've probably been stood up, so I try to give her a ring. It goes straight to voicemail, and I send her a text with no response. I send her a Facebook message just in case she has found a Wi-Fi connection, but it says on Facebook Messenger that she was last active earlier that morning, so I doubt it'll get through. I order a taxi at 8:55, thinking that if she gets in contact before the taxi arrives, I'll cancel, but if not, I'll just go home. So here's the interesting part. While I'm waiting for the taxi, I notice something kind of weird happening just a bit down the path. Two foreign guys are walking past another guy who is walking toward me. They sort of stop and start saying,
Please!
The guy just ignores them, but they start following while laughing and smiling. They look kind of menacing, to be honest. The guy turns around and gives them a stern look, and they back off a bit. He continues to walk further, and I see the foreign guy with the cap run up to the guy and grab him by the arm. At this point, the man starts shouting and pushing the foreign guy. The doorman intervenes and grabs the foreign man against a wall and starts pointing at his face and shouting stuff. I can't really make out what he's saying. At this point, my taxi arrives and I get in it. About halfway home, messages from Emma suddenly start flooding my phone notifications like, "Okay, I'm outside, where are you?" at 8:30, and "I'm guessing you're not coming" at 9:05. Of course, at this point, I'm pissed off, saying I waited outside for half an hour and she didn't show. She's saying she waited outside until 9:05 and I didn't show. I asked where exactly she was standing, and it was basically where I was standing. I said that's literally impossible, and if she didn't want to meet up with me or other plans came up, she should have just said so. Anyway, we don't talk for about a week, and I get a message from her saying, "Sorry, can we just forget about what happened and just meet up again? Clean slate?" At this point, I still believe she stood me up, and I'm thinking she wants to make up for it, so I agree to a clean slate, but I don't want to meet up with her just yet. So we start talking again and see how it goes. She eventually says the weirdest thing happened to her that night. She describes exactly what I witnessed with the two foreign men and the other man. The doorman grabbing him, the cap, the weird behavior, etc. She describes it almost as if she was standing where I was standing when this was going down. So, what's the possible explanation here? 1. She was somehow in the vicinity the entire time and I didn't notice the entire 30 minutes I was there? There's absolutely no way. It's a clear straight road, clear entrance, and apart from the doorman and the older woman smoking, I was the only one there standing and waiting. Or 2, she was actually inside the bar looking out the window or something and just fucking with me now? Possible, but incredibly unlikely. The bar has no windows at the front of the building on the ground floor. There are windows on the second floor, however, the second floor is only open on Fridays and Saturdays, and it's a nightclub on those days. Only staff are allowed up there. Number 3, she was somewhere else in the vicinity, hiding from view for the sole reason to fuck with my head? Again, a plausibility. There were no places to hide nearby from where I could see, and hiding there for 30 minutes, able to see and hear exactly what I witnessed? I see no reasoning in that. Number 4, somewhere along the journey to the bar, our reality split into versions where we weren't physically present in each other's and somehow merged again on the journey back home? I haven't mentioned any of this to her in case she thinks I'm insane. I've agreed to meet up with her again at the same bar to see what happens. If the same thing happens again, I'm going to go with the "she's fucking with me" explanation and cease contact. If she shows up and I start to notice something off or something is just not right with her, I'm out of there and also ceasing contact.
Number 2.
This is a story I had completely forgotten about until I discovered this subreddit, which really jolted my memory. Anyway, around 6 years ago, I was in middle school and had a pretty typical 11-year-old life. Nothing particularly strange. I had a small group of friends and we never really got up to much mischief and generally had quite plain, boring lives. After school on days, we would sometimes head to the park close to the school. We all went just to play around and just enjoy our time as kids. We all had phones and could keep in contact with our families, so we were all very comfortable and safe. On one of our park days, we all left the school and turned on our phones. We usually kept them off during the school day, otherwise they could be taken away. As I switch on my phone, I see that I have numerous missed calls from my mom, so I call her up to see what the fuss is all about, only to be met with my mother angrily shouting at me about what was I thinking and how I could have thought what I did was okay. Obviously confused, I asked her what she was talking about. She told me how I had texted her around halfway through the school day that me and my friends were all going to the movies. The text read something like, "Hey, I'm just heading to the movies with some friends. Be back later." This was super creepy, bearing in mind I had not sent her this text. First of all, my phone was off all day. Secondly, I wasn't going to the movies. Thirdly, if I was skipping school, the last person I would tell would be my own mother. I explained this to her. She seemed skeptical, but just left it, and we finished our call, and I checked my phone to see this text, and to my surprise, not only had I not sent her anything throughout the day, but at the same time, my phone was saying that she had sent me a text saying something similar like, "I'm just popping out to the movies with some friends. I should be home before you, though." Of course, right after seeing this text, I immediately called my mom again to tell her about the text that she had sent, and she told me that I was being ridiculous and that she'd been home all day tending to the house. Fast forward like 2 hours, and I've arrived home, and I immediately grab my mom's phone and look at the conversation between us. To my surprise, the text she sent me wasn't there, and the text that I'd supposedly sent her was there. Both messages were sent at the exact same time, but didn't appear on the sender's phone. I double checked, and we were definitely texting each other. All of our previous messages were there. So we just sort of left it. Neither of us had any sort of explanation for it, and we've both gotten new phones since, so we've just forgot about it. Although I'll never be able to hazard a guess as to what the cause could have been.
Number 1.
I had an experience when I was going to college. I was working part-time and going to college part-time. I toured people around a health club. One day, this bag lady comes in, and everybody wanted me to get rid of her. It was kind of really before bag lady was a term, but this was not the kind of person that was going to plunk down several $100s for a membership. Long story short, I didn't throw her off the club. Instead, I took her on the tour with me. We started talking, and as the conversation unfolded, I didn't know why, but I felt this woman had something that she needed to talk to me about. So I ended up leaving my position, and we went to the coffee shop. As I'm speaking with this lady, she said that she was from a different dimension. She told me about some things that had happened in my life that she had no way of knowing. And she told me that she was there because my soul had just gone through something. And she was there to give me a sort of hug for the soul. Or at least that's what she said. She wasn't a bag lady. So I thought I was gone for like 10 minutes, and when I got back to the club, everybody was freaked out. It was nighttime, and they had called the cops, and my mother was there as well. The weirdest thing is when I got back to the club, all this hoopla was going on. Before I did anything, I walked back out the front door to get a hold of the bag lady, and she was gone in a matter of minutes. Back then, at 19 years old, I was just so caught up in how everybody thought I was dead or kidnapped that I didn't even notice the lady leave. My mom's there, and she's freaking out. She took me into the bathroom because she thought I had been attacked, so they called the police. I said, "Mom, I was only gone for like 10 minutes. And she said,
"Kimberly, you've been missing for 8 hours.
"Hey guys, thanks again for listening. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I was a little worried that would maybe be too boring or feel a little too scattered because the topic is really kind of a broad idea of things. But then I said, whatever, here it goes. I'm really into learning about what quantum mechanics, string theory, and all the different sorts of physics out there have to offer. Whatever the real answer is, if it even is something which represents anything science or even religion has to offer, I think it's safe to say, at least for me, that the unknown can be rather intriguing and unsettling at times. Well, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, be sure to check out my music project, guys. I have a link to some information on it, and also a link to a music video. Until next time.
Be aware and keep your eyes open.